This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of our investment group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today we have a guest, which I will not be able to pronounce it correctly, but she probably will pronounce it a lot better than I can. Her name is Shyamali Roy Hauth. Welcome to our show. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
You came very close. It's Shyamali Roy Hauth.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. So Roy Hauth is your husband's name?
Hauth is my husband's name. Roy is my maiden name, actually, from India. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. So tell me a little bit about yourself for this audience, who you are and where you come from, what you do.
Yeah, so I was born in India. We immigrated here back in the 60s, and I spent some time in the Air Force, 10 years active duty in the Air Force.
Thank you for your service to our country.
Well, thank you very much. It was my honor to serve. I was both enlisted and officer, worked in construction management, and then became an executive officer. And then spent 22 years as a military spouse, which time I became a tenured professor at one point, teaching leadership, team building, speech and communication, and eventually ended up opening my own small business because my husband's career moved, so I needed to have something that would move with me.
Sure.
And so I opened my own small business and replicated small businesses as we went around the U.S.
Very nice.
Finally, he retired, and we were able to move here to this area at our final home.
Well, thank you very much. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
So you believe in equity and equality.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? And what is the difference between the two ways?
Thank you so much for asking. A lot of times that is a very confusing issue. Equality is when two people have equal means given to them. But we know many times somebody starts at a lower level. So a good visual of this would be, for instance, if there is a fence and everyone is trying to look over, you have someone who's tall who maybe only needs a small box to stand on. But you have somebody who's shorter who might need a taller box. Somebody in a wheelchair may need a ramp to get up to be able to look over.
That's a good analogy.
Yes.
So what do you think of the gender equality in our country?
So I have been working on ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment.
Do you believe in diversity?
I do believe in diversity.
Does diversity brings you together? Diversity makes us stronger?
I think diversity makes us stronger.
And when you're stronger, you can help shape a better future for America.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it is the strength of our nation.
So why is India is not doing that? India is now a very tolerant society, has become increasingly intolerant under this Prime Minister.
It has.
We will leave that alone for a while. I just wrote a column in the Sun Times on this.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the Equal Rights Amendment.
So the Equal Rights Amendment simply states, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied nor abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. That's simply the words of it. It actually is very similar to the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. And so
that was about close to 100 years ago.
It is 100 years ago this year, yes.
That's exactly
that was
right.
signed, yes.
Yeah. So talk about, I know I'm very much an advocate, admire and appreciate marriage equality. And so tell a little bit about the LGBT. I got that part. What's the Q stand for? What does that mean?
It stands for queer. Initially, that was a negative, term, but now it has been something that has been embraced by the community. So often we list it as LGBTQ plus because there are some other designations that also are not included. So in terms of equality and marriage equality, we've come to the point in the United States where by and far most people believe that you should marry who you love, and who you love is fine.
So what do you think of this guy Pete running for the presidency?
I think it's fantastic.
I think he's pretty good.
I think it's fantastic.
And
his
happened
husband
to
is
meet
absolutely
him.
Wonderful.
He's 37 years old, and he's belongs to LGBT community, but he's a pretty articulate.
He is very articulate, yes.
But he probably got no shot.
Well, I don't. It's such a packed and crowded field that we will have to see what will happen in that. But I think that one of the things that happens with marriage equality is that the transgender community has sometimes been left out of that equation because we haven't yet resolved how they can have equity and equality within our system yet.
That is true. So tell me a little bit about why do you think we should be politically engaged? Why should create a common cause, and what does it do, because it affects everybody's life every day what the politicians do?
You're absolutely right. So I find that many times in our Indian diaspora, we're not as politically engaged, even though
we're getting a lot better.
we are getting much better.
We have 3 congressmen.
Well, we have you.
Yeah, well,
We
we
have
also
you.
have a congressional people. We also have if you want to inherit Kamala Harris,
Yes.
she's half Indian and half black.
So at some of these higher levels, we do have quite a bit of engagement. What we need is a bench to be built
That
at
is
a
good
lower
way
level.
That's a very well said.
And so in order to do that, we really need to engage at the local level in local politics and make sure that whether it's school board, boards of supervisors, city councils, and then your state legislatures, that we have built a bench of people who are able to advocate and work towards making sure that we have the people who need to run.
So, you're an immigrant.
Yes.
President Kennedy once said, the immigrant infuses nation with far horizons and new frontier,
Yes.
thereby keeping the hope alive and well. I just gave a speech at JFK Library where I sit on the board on the occasions of the immigration naturalization, and also gave a commencement address at University of Maryland about a week ago.
Wonderful.
And I talk about the immigration. So what are the issues that are affecting the immigrant community? As you know, they confront hostility and a prejudice. They share a city, but not a community.
Right.
They share a common dwelling, but not a common effort.
Yes. So there are a number of issues, and each immigrant community has some unique issues that affect it. But if I was going to say there's one overarching concern is that when an immigrant arrives in the U.S., we don't have that support network of family and extended friends. So making sure that there is a support network within a community so that if there's a question, if they don't know what the process is for something, how to advocate for their children, how to make sure that the healthcare needs are met, that we can provide some of those services at a local level and then within a community, within a state. That's one area. Other areas where immigrants, I think, often get left a little bit by the wayside are when we address some social issues. Because there are cultural norms that come from different countries, when people come over and something like, for instance, domestic violence
That's a good point you made.
You know, that sometimes the rest of the community is a little reticent to address that to an immigrant because they're worried, am I overstepping a cultural bound? Am I pushing back on something which I shouldn't be? And yet, immigrant communities need to understand that within American society, there are some norms here. And these are what we live by here. And if you are experiencing domestic violence, it affects not only, it could be a spouse, it could be an elder parent. And in many of our communities this is also an issue, the elderly care. And it affects the entire family. And when it affects the family, it affects the community.
Good way to put it. But you have to, I just gave an interview not too long ago with Cokie Roberts' husband on the immigration. Immigrants defines the character and value and conscience of this nation.
Yes.
We are a nation of immigrants.
Absolutely.
We came from every end of the earth. This is who we are. So the immigrants bring a broad-based benefit to our economy. Do you know that they contribute close to 0.5% of GDP in this country?
Absolutely. Isn't that
Not only
fantastic?
that, 45% of the America CEO in Silicon Valley are immigrant, first generation. They're mostly South Asians.
Yes.
So it's America that provided them opportunities, inclusiveness and openness.
Yes.
And that's something, there's a values and qualities of America that all other countries, and including India, can embrace it.
Absolutely.
And they have not embraced that.
It would be nice if it was a little bit more welcoming.
So the question to you, my question to you is, they don't have that much of language barrier that the Indian immigrants has, the Italian will have, the Irish will. Irish probably speaks English, and also Eastern Europeans have. And so the question is, what can you do to make sure you can infuse in this nation for the immigrants that we are in this together? You are welcome in this country.
You know, I think it starts at the very local level. It
Yes.
really does. Because if we build neighborhoods where people feel welcome, when somebody new moves into your neighborhood, you welcome them, include them in what's happening, make sure that
So they
in
become
spaces,
part and parcel of the community.
Exactly. And in organizations that are local, in neighborhood workshops, if we make sure it has to be intentional. We can't just sit back and expect the immigrant to join us of their own volition. This is not if they're new to the country, they don't know what's happening there. We need to make the effort to go out, knock on that door, have a conversation, welcome them, make sure that they're part of the community, because when we do that, we all, as you have pointed out, benefit, because those are the people who are really the driving force of our economy.
Anywhere they go to, they
Yes.
they become very strong, resilient, and vibrant.
Absolutely.
They really make the community prosper.
Yes, yes, I agree completely.
And if you talk to any senators and the House people, they will tell you that the immigrants has really infused this nation.
Yes.
And instilled this nation. So the
Absolutely.
question that I have for you before we close the conversation, you're into combining yoga with the music.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that and how did that work?
So this is a typical immigrant thing. So I had done.
It's a typical American thing.
It is very American, because
my friend Hillary Clinton does the yoga every day.
yeah. So I grew up doing yoga through Indian dance, although at that time I didn't know it was yoga.
It's a good exercise.
It is very good exercise. And then I found out later in life when I had a health issue come up how wonderful it is in a healing practice.
Yes.
And then later I again found that it was a very good spiritual practice. So I combine all of that into the traditional yoga form, which
do you do the yoga every day?
Yes, I do. Yes, yeah, I do yoga
and how
and
long
meditation
it takes
every
you to
day.
do that?
So it depends on the day. Some days I spend maybe an hour, some days I spend 15 minutes, some days it's 2 hours.
Do you do the deep breathing?
I do. Pranayama,
Oh my gosh.
Hatha yoga, and
don't
then
know what the-
meditation.
Oh, wow.
So I do all of that. When you said you combining it with music, the music that I combine it with is quite interesting. I became engaged, and you mentioned Irish culture earlier, with Celtic harp music.
Oh my goodness.
So I fell in love with the harp and I started playing it, and I realized my body was getting very stiff playing. So then I started working with yoga, with music, and how we're holding our body and what we're doing, and being able to play better and bringing the breath into it as well as we're playing.
Wow.
And then
that's a very nice.
I took that and I work with musicians. I actually teach yoga at a.
So if somebody in the audience wants to get a hold of you to tell them about the yoga, yoga is a very important part of our part and parcel of who we are as an
Yes.
American. How do we get hold of you?
So I have a website.
Okay, tell us your website.
It's www.mahariyoga.com. MAHARI yoga.com.
Well, thank you very much for coming,
Thank you so much.
for talking to us, and thank you for your wisdom, values, and vision.
Thank you.
This is Frank Islam wishing you a great week, and thank you for watching.